can we please put Grok inside the Tesla?
Yeah,
Like,
already.
why is it not there yet? How can't I push a button on my app screen and just talk to Grok?
It does feel like sometimes there's these silos, and we just need to introduce them to each other. Grok meet Tesla, Tesla meet Grok.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Travel Nerds is back, and we're back with a new host. So I have our CTO here at Allfly. I twisted his arm, and I got him to commit to doing this at least twice a month with me. And so we're going to talk about travel. We're going to talk about technology, current events. Same old show, one new face. As you guys know, if you guys are longtime listeners, Connor Ann was my original host, and she has gotten to the world of acting. So she doesn't have time to consistently film anymore, which is sad. You may see her pop up once or twice if she's going to be in a Netflix show or something on Hulu. We may have her on to do a little promotion. But Jason, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the episode.
Well, I'll start with a confession. Actually, the only reason I'm doing this show now is because I want to follow Connor's footsteps. I have an acting career as my third act. I see you're a launching platform now, so I'm like, I'm on it. Let's go.
That's fun. Yeah, it's like there's like some places where like, you know, you go to coach at Duke so you could go and get like a bigger like head coaching job. Yeah, Travel Nerds, we mint actors here. I don't, it's not in my future whatsoever. I have a bad hairline. I stutter, so I would probably a director's like nightmare, but I could see it for you.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that vote of confidence. We'll see how long it takes for me to get there. But until then, so I'm the CTO here at Allfly. This is, let's see, I graduated college. I'll throw some dates out there. Like I'm a dinosaur, man. I graduated back in '99 from University of Florida, the comp sci degree, back when the internet was just taking shape, it was just forming. And so since then I've been in software, started as a developer, worked my way up through management, and now here I am in the big seat. I've been in startups and big companies, small, so I've had a good range of experience.
Yeah, and Jason is far more technical than me, and whenever like I vibe code or I get I'll get anywhere 80%. He's always the first person that I call to come and rescue me. I'd be like, hey, I really messed this up. So, but no, super to have you on the show. And today we're going to be talking about Tesla versus Waymo. So Tesla versus Waymo is a very interesting battle. And in full disclosure, Jason and I are both Tesla owners. And then I recently rode in a Waymo in a trip out to San Francisco, and I was blown away. And I have FSD on my Model Y, so I've gotten to play in both of them. But today, what we're going to do is kind of break down Tesla's Robotaxi versus Waymo, because I was sitting in a conference and I heard Zach Coleus say that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. And he's like, you could go to San Francisco and you can see exactly what the future 5 years is going to look like, or 10 years, because you could open your app, you can get a driverless car and have it take you across the city. And I did just that, and I won't spoil it, but it was a very, I'd say, surreal and insane experience. So I want you to look into your crystal ball and tell me who has a bigger business and footprint in 5 years. Is it going to be Tesla's Robotaxi or Google's Waymo?
Okay, I'm going to go Tesla for the win here. Their Robotaxi is it's cheap. It's in the Tesla. Now, granted, I drive a Tesla, so the question, just to be fair, was parched as which one has a bigger business. I'm actually not betting that Tesla wins it. I'm betting that Waymo loses it. So there may be some third-party person that shows up, but Waymo is the first mover. They have all this stuff on the car. They're super expensive, right? I think they're like, you had a chart that's like 300,000 or something to spin one of these up. And, they've got all the sensors and everything. So I think they're just having to knock down so many barriers and so many doors. And granted, they got a barrel of cash, but they're just opening the door for someone like a Tesla to come in and just scoop it all up for pennies on the dollar. So not Waymo is my vote.
The cost factor is super interesting. So Matt, if you want to pull up this chart here, we have a comparative analysis for Tesla, Robotaxi, Waymo, and Uber. And so let's actually like break down the cost, right? Because a lot of this is going to come down to cost. And recently I was in New York City, and in 2 days I spent over $400 in Ubers, which is actually insane. So I think that the big loser in this is Uber, because Uber has gotten so expensive. In New York City, taking a taxi is now cheaper. It's often more convenient, and some of them are old and it's like not a great experience. But the cheaper part for me, and I'm not as price sensitive as others are, but the cheaper part leads me to go back to taxi. And the really interesting part, and this chart will be up here on the screen, is the estimated cost per mile of a robotaxi is somewhere between 25 cents and 30 cents. The estimated cost for a Waymo per mile is somewhere between $1 and $1.50. And the estimated cost per mile for an Uber that's human driven is somewhere between $2 and $3. So you see that like Waymo is going to be 3 times more expensive than Tesla Robotaxis, and Ubers are going to be probably 2 to 3 times more expensive than a Waymo. And then the vehicle cost, you're totally right. So a Tesla Robotaxi, allegedly, and now this probably is a little bit from Elon, and you have to take what he says with a fistful of salt, not a grain of salt, but like a fistful of salt. Because he does deliver, but sometimes the timeline is stretched out. Like, AK, I waited for a Cybertruck for, I don't know, 5 years. I think I'm blanking on this. What is the Tesla? Oh, Roadster. The Roadster people are still waiting. Yeah, they're still waiting. So yeah, the vehicle cost, Robotaxi somewhere between $10,000 and like 12.5K. The Waymos are over $100,000. And we can kind of touch base on that. And then, the average car of a Uber driver is about 30,000. So your just cost structure for a Tesla is so much cheaper. However, with that being said, I would have to go with Waymo. I think is going to win long term here. And I don't know if you differ from me here, but I think that Waymo was actually right in putting the computer vision. So they do it with cameras. They have more cameras than Tesla does. They also have radar, and then they also have LiDAR. And I think that Google's approach was very different than what Tesla did. What Tesla did is they thought that they can win with cameras. And in driving a Tesla and having it in autopilot and FSD, there's a few times where the cameras crap out on you and where you actually need something else, right? You need LiDAR, you need radar, you need something. And if you are a Tesla owner and you're driving into the sun when the sun's setting later in the day at rush hour, your full self-driving turns off.
Yeah, done.
And it's done, right? And so that's a really big use case. And what, are we just not going to have self-driving cars at sunset or sunrise? Like those are big commute times, right? So I think that part is really interesting. I understand why Elon chooses, and maybe you could kind of speak to it too, of like why he chose just to say, hey, we're just going to run it off of cameras. But I think Waymo's approach to putting all the sensors on the car, it's very Google-esque, right? Google is their kind of approach to doing this is measure twice, cut once, right? Because so they wanted to put safety first, and they wanted to have redundancies, where Elon's a little bit more of like, let's deploy it, let's get it out there and iterate. I don't know what is your rebuttal to like the Tesla just not working, driving into the sun, or in heavy rain? In heavy rain, sometimes it doesn't work too.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think, we all have varying levels of technical understanding here. I'll do a little technical corner on sort of the vision. So generally speaking, it's all, we think of light. Well, it's visible light that we can see with our eyes, right? And that's obviously what Tesla's running on. They made the bet that, hey, it works fine for humans. Eventually, the computers will be smart enough that it'll work fine for the computers. And that's true, although, we have biological things like we can squint our eyes and hold up our hand to shade the sun, and there's other things we can do to mitigate where our vision actually falls down. These other things, LiDAR and radar, they're actually just different frequencies and wavelengths of the same kind of thing, and they have different characteristics. So some of them can go through things like fog or dense humidity or rain, right? Like the rain's not even there in LiDAR. But other ones, outshine in other places. So to your point, Google has kind of painted the spectrum with collection tools so it can constantly be probing around and seeing everything that's going and not missing anything. And I think there's a lot of, that makes a lot of sense, but there's also a lot of cost to that. And then the integration is a big thing. And I think the winner will be somewhere in the middle, right? It'll be someone that, at least in the near term, can do those things. But the things I'm talking about in terms of mitigating for our eyeballs when we're driving as humans, we have two of them, and our brain is constantly doing math to like give us distance and stuff. We don't have to think about it. It's amazing. The cars are having to do all that. And I think where Waymo is shining, they're being super safe. There's nothing that's going to get by them. But I think, with Elon and the math on it is kind of crazy too. I've heard him talk about it where basically, it's analogous to the rockets. We're going to launch them. If one blows up, that's okay. There'll be another one coming. Inside of FSD, the argument is, okay, if we put this out there and one robotaxi drives off the road and kills someone, still the statistics of all our robotaxis driving is better than the same pool of statistics of humans driving. So it's actually a net benefit, even if you have one or two bad things happen. So a lot more risk profile on Elon, and I think that's going to translate to moving faster and sort of spreading out across the country faster, because it's still staying geographically kind of in a small area. When does it explode across? And I think, sort of politically and economically, Tesla is set to try and explode across the. Maybe that's a bad adjective there. They're going to, grow across the nation with their performance, and I think they're gonna really give Waymo a ride for their money.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point where there's over 6.5 million Tesla vehicles on the road collecting data today. And then you see some of the curious moves by Tesla where someone in our family just got a Tesla Model 3 and it was $0 down for a lease and $350 a month. And now my grandmother-in-law has a Model 3 and she has the FSD and it just drives her everywhere. So it is kind of magical. And the fleet size, to your point, it's going to be much easier to expand faster because one, they're already cranking out Teslas. And if it has FSD, how hard is it to basically like either create a new Robotaxi or turn my Model 3 or Model Y into a Robotaxi where I can like send it to you to go pick you up. So it's an interesting point of like Tesla has a scale that Google doesn't have, and the Google cars are really expensive to make. The Google cars, now I'm like talking myself out of my own position, which I'll circle back to, but the Google Waymo cars have 29 cameras, 5 LiDARs, and 6 radars. So there's like multiple layers of safety and precaution. But I think that safety, I think wins, because I think one of the things that you're going to have to battle with is I posted this video on LinkedIn about my experience with Waymo, which, to be honest, if you haven't gotten in one, you have to do it. It's like you're seeing into the future. And for 5 minutes, I was in the Waymo with my coworker, Sarah. And for 5 minutes, we were just like, whoa, like I FaceTime my grandmother. I showed her and she's like, I can't watch this. It makes me sick. And then me and Sarah were blown away. Well, we had a 20-minute ride. And after 5 minutes of being like wowed, We just relaxed and were driven to our location. I felt so safe and so secure with this driverless car. In many respects, it drove better in a very challenging San Francisco landscape than what a normal driver does. And the Waymo was very smooth. Now, in terms of getting over the hump of the safety, right? I think that there's going to be a general reluctance to use this technology. And I think that Waymo is going to get to have a leg to stand on of like, we've built all this redundancy and safety, so it is much safer than a human driver. And we'll throw this chart back up here, but per accidents per 100,000 miles, Waymo is currently at a quarter, not a full accident, 0.25 accidents per 100,000 miles driven. And the average human is at 2. So literally you carry 8 times as much risk with an Uber driver driving you as you do a Waymo. So like Waymo, statistically speaking, is a much safer way to get from point A to point B than an Uber. And I think that safety is going to get over some of the novelty of getting into a car and having an empty front seat, because it is jarring. And I think that safety may actually win, because right now Robotaxis just came out in Austin. They're just being tested. And full self-driving accidents per 100,000 miles is actually less than Waymo. So it's 0.21. And it's gotten better. But the Robotaxis are 10 incidents about 100,000 miles. So there's a lot to iron out there. But it's good. The technology is going to get better.
And right now on the rollout, they have a passenger in the Robotaxi, or like a in the front seat that's from Tesla to like co-ride with you, I think, right now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Well, the videos I saw online of the Robotaxi running had a official in the passenger seat. Now that might have been one of the first ones. I don't know if they've taken that out or not, but it's definitely trying to be as cautious as they can.
Let me take this in a different direction. In terms of, let's say, are you bullish to say that like maybe 10 years in the future that 70% of miles driven will be driven without a human being?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. For sure. My whole, so 10 years in the future, a lot of the boomers are kind of boomed.
Boomed off into the sunset.
Yeah. My sort of generation is taking over, and I feel like, now granted, I always worked in tech, so I may be a leading edge, but, definitely wanting to take advantage of technology. And I think that having grown up with Teslas around here now, and being able to have sort of self-driving adjacent, the next sort of generation to take the helm as we age will be much more receptive to the self-driving, I believe. There's a funny thing going on right now because my internet is going through Starlink, which is one of right. And the thing about it is it's amazing until it rains. So it's very similar to to the Tesla driving.
Yeah, I guess Elon's like anti-rain. He just, I guess, living in Texas and then in like LA and California, it's like, oh, it doesn't rain. So it's like, but living in Florida, you're like, it rains every day. In the summer, it's every day. Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. So if we think that there's going to be major adoption in 10 years and driverless cars will be kind of just everywhere that we see, what do you think are the downsides of that? So who's the big losers, and what's the big loser of this like safer, more efficient way to travel?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest portion of the gig economy, right? So like you want to be an Uber or Lyft driver, we'll route the taxi drivers in there, and even the huge the truck drivers, those are big salaries. They don't get paid minimum wage to drive that massive cargo across the states here. So I feel like that whole population is at risk.
Yeah, so it's estimated, I've seen different figures, but it's estimated that about 3.5 million people drive professionally. So this includes truck drivers, ride hail drivers, Uber, Lyft, delivery chauffeurs. So it breaks down 2 million truck drivers. And those are high paying jobs, you know, from 70,000 to $150,000. Those are like really good paying jobs. Then you have ride hail and Uber, 1 million, and delivery couriers, about 500,000. And so you're talking about 3.5 million jobs. Now, the interesting thing is one of the really great things that's happened in the last 10 years in the gig economy, and just like how our society is constructed, where it was very easy to become an Uber driver. And Uber drivers can, you know, earn anywhere from $12 to $30 an hour, depending what market that you're in. So if you lose your job, you can you can take your car if you own one and you can drive an Uber. And so you won't go to zero income. And what a safety net that
Yeah.
was for people in America. Just to say, like, I'm not going to have days that I make $0. So, you know, if you have a family, now, is it ideal? No. And am I romanticizing losing your job? But that's like a huge safety net to just be like, I mean, I remember during COVID that I was like, well, if I don't have a job, I mean, I guess I'll drive Uber. I have to eat, right? And I do have a car. And so, I mean, I remember going through that and just being like, Uber and ride sharing is my safety net. But then once that gets removed, what is the safety net that those people have? That's kind of scary. And then I was having this argument with someone, and they were like, well, truck drivers are like a majority because they're full-time employees, and you know, their jobs are more secure. And I was like, and I actually take the other side of the
Yeah.
coin. I think that they're the first to go, more maybe not the first to go, but once the truck can drive with no driver and the robot is in the back to load and unload, why do you need the human, right? And so that's a really crazy thing, because people used to think that truck drivers are protected because, well, who's going to take the packages out of the truck in the last mile, right? Like when they get there, who's going
Yeah.
to do the loading and unloading? And it's going to either be the person who receives it, which there's some problems there too, or there's going to be a Tesla robot, like a humanoid, that's going to be unloading your packages. So I don't know. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
ride hail will come for it'll come for Uber and Lyft first, but I think that the truck drivers are a bigger financial reward for cracking that.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And actually, it's happened. If you go and look in the world, these huge, big mining facilities that they have these, you know, those trucks that you see, they look like the Tonka trucks when you're a kid, but the tire in real life is like 2 stories tall. You know, these gigantic machines that are like millions of dollars. Their drivers cost about $250,000 a year. Each driver of one of those giant machines. So they've already, and what do those giant machines do? They drive up to the mine, they get filled up full of mine stuff, and then they drive down the mine back to some processing facility. It gets dumped there, and then they drive back. So these, I forget the name of the company, they've already created these vehicles. They exist, they're deployed, and in fact, they run mostly on electricity. And you're like, what? That would be a crazy battery. Yeah, it is. And what happens is they use it to go up the mine, right? And then it gets filled up. And then when they're coming down, just like Tesla does the regenerative braking, imagine like a 1,000 ton or a 10,000, I don't even know how much these things weigh, you know, like 100,000 ton vehicle coming down a mountain. All the resistance that comes back from that actually charges the battery back. So it's good economics on the system, and it saves them $250,000 to also throw automated driving in there. So those guys are already basically done. And now they're, like you're saying, they're starting to test with the, truck drivers going from one end to the other. And I will say that I think in the initials of those, they're also looking at having like a work from home truck driver that might dial in when it gets on location, they're actually remotely parking this thing because sometimes it may not be intuitive or clear what's got to happen. And you need to communicate with people. So it's like you're going to dial in and dock this one and then dial out and dial in and dock that one. So yeah, definitely the trucking, the commercial industry first because of economics. And then I don't know what all this is all driven right by AI. And so the argument is, it'll create other professions and other jobs like I guess it's a subset, but the guy who's dialing in and docking trucks, that job certainly didn't exist before. There'll be other flavors. So I don't know what the gig economy will turn to. Maybe, the still delivering and getting food, those kinds of things. You got to have a person, run into, Subway and grab the sub or whatever. So like anything, it won't decimate everything, but it'll be more than it is today.
Yeah, I would say, because I've wrestled with this a lot of like who should be afraid, and honestly, when AI first came out, and everyone thought it was going to be white collar workers off the bat because the AI was going to be really good at data analysis and data crunching, and then people thought like, oh well, creatives are going to be safe. Well, the first thing that came out, in my opinion, that was like widespread was really like DALL-E, right? Making images. And that's only gotten better and more insane. And so it actually did the creative job like fairly reasonable. And then now it's kind of coming for the white collar jobs. But I think the next thing that people are going to have to wrestle with is these humanoid robots. And because once it has vision and memory and it's just like you and me. So you were saying like, who's going to go into Subway and pick up my sub?
Yep.
Why can't the robot do it?
For sure.
Would you get a robot in your house?
One. I would like several. I'm sure they'll cost as much as the house, but I was actually thinking the other day about, if you could have like a team there and you're like, they're doing the yard and they're cleaning the pool and they're doing laundry. I mean, I would, yes, 100% yes. But I think that it's like, I want it to be a Star Trek world, where because of all this optimization, then we have all this abundance of resources and we all just share like kumbaya, right? And the world is better. But I think we're going to go through some dark times first where maybe people don't share.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit weird at first. I just looked this up. So the Tesla Optimus robot, the one that's the humanoid, is supposedly, when production hits 1 million units annually, will cost $20,000 to $30,000.
Done.
And so a little, you're like done. Yeah. So like, there's probably now at $20,000 to $30,000. Like, if I'm thinking of like, okay, what are all my monthly costs that I pay for now that I pay for humans to do it? So right now I pay a house cleaner to come. That's about $250 a month. Then I also have a gardening and like maintenance. That is $95 a month. And then I have a pool guy that's $100 a month. So right now I'm at $550 a month. And then call it like kind of ad hoc services that are episodic and not reoccurring. Like, let's say that I have like $1,000 worth of services that just happen, right? And then you spread that. So I'm probably currently at between $600 and $800 a month.
And don't forget to pay yourself. I mean, you're cooking food, you're doing laundry, like all these things that you're spending your time that are basically work that you could trade and get your time back. So how much is your time worth on those? It
like
could
$12 an hour. So no, no, you're right though. That's actually like, yeah. So I would say that the economics at $20,000 a year breaks out to what, like $1,500 a month, is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that, right? We don't do public math, but yeah, like $1,500 a month is probably what one of these things will cost. Like, or I guess, you know what, if you take the midpoint and it's 20 to 30,000, and you're like $2,000 a month is 24 grand a year. So, I mean, that's like what an au pair would cost you ish.
Now, is that,
that's
wait,
less, right?
is that price to buy the robot or to rent it for a year? Because if it's, I was thinking
Well,
buy,
I'm
but
not
let's
sure
be
what the
honest.
business model is going to be. I think you're
It's
going
going
to
to be
buy it. Yeah.
both. Yeah, it's going to be like it's going to be just like the Tesla. You're going to
Yeah.
buy it, and then you're going to pay for the monthly service fee too, because no
The
one's going to
data.
let that
Yeah,
go.
the
Yeah,
data. Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you want a dumb
People
robot or a
love a
smart robot?
subscription. Do you want a
Yeah.
robot connected to the internet or not connected to the internet? It's going to be, yeah, you're right. It's going to be just like the stupid car. Yeah, that's actually fascinating to think. I mean, in the short term, I would say that seeing that safety net go away is actually kind of sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's a really nice thing for people to be able to earn cash and drive a
Quick
car.
too.
But
Like you don't.
quick,
It's not like
yeah.
some big approval. It happens quickly. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that part would be sad, and then I'm super interested. I'm super interested to see what the robot is going to, because I think that the robot is in theory now, and you see demonstrations on the internet. I would think that that next year is going to be the year of the robot. That's my prediction, and you're going to start to see it in small instances. I mean, when I was in Miami, I had this little thing buzz past me, and it was like a cooler on wheels, and it was delivering someone food.
It's
And I was
crazy.
like, man, it's getting close. It's getting
It
close.
is. Yeah, I got a robot that sweeps the floors up here. It's like they're coming into your lives without even really fully. My neighbor's got one of those solar robots that mows the yard all the time.
Is that any good?
At first, it's funny because he's had it for a few years and he's got a nice size yard. And I used to see the robot repairman. His van would be out there all the time with this thing, and it would be like off the curb or it would be stuck on a branch or whatever.
Yeah.
But now, that thing just goes. And I haven't seen that van over there in the last probably 8, 12 months. So I think they've figured that out. Any technology, by the way, that's got to be outdoors like that, like I have mad respect for. So the robots are going to come, and their robots will be indoor robots first. They'll be in the factories. They might be in your house cleaning your floor or whatever. But when the robots start getting outside, whew, man, that's a tough environment, especially in Florida.
And doing hardware outdoors, as we know, super hard.
Forget it.
The worst.
Like, do you realize it gets 130 degrees outside sometimes? Like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's rough. So, all right. So wrapping up. So you're going Tesla. Your 3 bullet points for why Tesla wins long term, and there's just more robotaxis than Waymo. If you had to break it down, 3 bullet points, what are they?
The number one is going to be that they're willing to take on the risk, which will give them velocity in the long term. So they are not so risk adverse. The second would be the population of the existing Tesla cars. There's no spin up there. And then the last, I think, would have to be that there is there's no other example right now of someone going into the multiple industries and just dominating other than Elon, right? So if you're going to bet on some new industry showing up, like, come on, this guy's done it, what, 2-3 times already, 4 times? I don't even know.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so I'll go Waymo, and I think my 3 bullet points are this. I think that Google's cautiousness is going to win trust, which I think trust is going to be something big to leap over. I think that Tesla will have more vehicles, but Google's distribution of making people aware. There are 1.5 billion users on Google active each day. It's a lot of users, a lot of Gmail. Like, they already are in everyone's life. So I think that Google, there may be more robotaxis on the ground, but Google has such good ways to let you know about Waymo. And they haven't even scratched the surface because Google is not good marketers, but God forbid that they get someone good at marketing there and they really push this thing. They have the potential to really go for the jugular. And then the last part is I can't get over, I know Elon's point of when you're driving a car, you only drive with your eyes, right? and if it's too rainy and too crazy, I do pull over. But the sun thing, I don't know how you battle it. I really don't. So I think that in order to really make sure that it's a safe experience, which it already is, I think that you are going to have to use LiDAR or radar. It's just that Honeywell radar LiDAR unit, I forget which one it is, reportedly it's somewhere between like $8,000 and $15,000 for that unit. And so that's basically, that unit is as expensive as a Robotaxi. So, but my bet is that the hardware is going to come down over time, because at one time I think this car cost over $300,000 to develop. Today it's like at $100,000, but it probably still needs to get cut in half. And although Google's not a car manufacturer, I think that they have enough pull and people want to be in with them that they'll probably end up purchasing one. If this gets big enough, they'll probably just buy one of these distressed like auto manufacturers, or that they'll have a pretty ingrained partnership. And I think that LiDAR radar combination is going to win, although I am a Tesla fan. And just as a side clip, can we please put Grok inside the Tesla?
Yeah, already.
Like, why is it not there yet? Like, I have no idea. How can't I push a button on my app screen and just talk to Grok?
Yeah,
Why?
it does feel like sometimes there's these silos, and we just need to introduce them to each other. Grok meet Tesla, Tesla meet Grok.
Yeah, dude, the same guy owns you. I've been waiting for this. I want to get educated. I want to have like a fluid conversation with super intelligence while I drive. And I know in theory I could have the app open and put it to Bluetooth, but come on.
Yeah.
Just integrate it. I could do that. I can do that with Spotify too, but I choose to open Spotify on the interface. Same exact thing with Grok. Put it in the Tesla. Stop. Like, there's TikTok on the Tesla. Why is there not Grok? Give me Grok. Okay. Anyway, that's my kind of call to Elon. Just come on, guys, please. Just put this in the stupid car already.
I'm sure he'll be filing that away very quickly.
Yeah, like he's getting rid of hashtags on Twitter ads, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's a stupid thing.
Yeah.
Focus on giving me Grok inside the car, and then you could get to some weird, like, that's a weird taste thing. Who cares? I want to use your service in a real way while I drive.
Correct. Yeah, let's do it.
I tried doing the research for this podcast with Gemini on my walk this morning. Total trash.
Oh, did you go to Grok?
Yeah, I went to Grok, and then Grok was like, okay, and I ended up with Old Faithful ChatGPT.
Yeah, she's tough to beat, you know?
She's the Google one. After I expressly was like, hey, I need you to give me lots of detail. Like, you're giving me bullet points, but I need to talk about this for 40 minutes. I need to know more than just like the high level.
Yeah.
And it couldn't do it. And I was like, what is this?
And
everyone's like,
ChatGPT is
Gemini, but yeah.
ChatGPT is fast too. It like aggressively answers. I feel like it's like you ask it something, and then it's like already answering you. So it's a different experience too. So come on, Grok, get some lessons over there. It is crazy watching these different chats and AIs just leap each other back and forth. So
yeah. The voice mode, I was like, come on, dude. I want you to teach me, talk to me for 10 minutes straight, right? Don't just give me an answer and like wait for me to respond. And I tried to instruct it to do that and still couldn't do it. And I was like, come on, I have 10 minutes with this dog. She takes forever to poop. All right, cool. Well, that's the show, guys. We'll go ahead and post this on Spotify. Check it out on YouTube, because we will have videos and charts, and we'll post some of the clips. If you've never been inside of a Waymo, I have. We'll throw the clips over top of this, and we plan on doing this probably twice a month. I know the schedules get a little crazy, but we're gonna kind of go film on Fridays, post it the following week. So we appreciate Jason and his first. Jason was a guest twice, but now he's a co-host. And thanks for having you. And follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, and anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Later, nerds.